I hate Halloween for many reasons. I have to answer the door every 10 minutes. I have to pretend like I'm excited to give bratty kids free candy. I have to stay inside, because driving on a road filled with crazy, running children gives me panic attacks. I plopped down in the chair by the window. Hordes of children in garish costumes ran down the sidewalks, shepherded by tired mothers. I sighed as a group of children crossed the street and started towards my house. The doorbell chimed, echoing inside the house. I heaved myself up, grabbed the bag of Milky Ways, and walked towards the door. Trick or treat! 5 kids stood on the doorstep. A few princesses, a Batman, and a devil. I unceremoniously grabbed handfuls of candy and plopped them in each kid's bag. One murmured thank you. The rest were ungrateful little brats. Can I have more? I looked up. The devil kid was staring at me, holding out his bag. His blonde hair shone in the porch light. His eyes were a piercing ice blue. There was something oddly familiar about him, but I couldn't place it. Sure, I replied. I dropped a few more Milky Ways in the bag. He didn't thank me. He just silently turned around and walked off my porch, following the other children. I shut the door and returned to my perch by the window. I watched as the 4 children walked off my lawn, joining a mother at the end of the driveway. Then the group disappeared into the shadows of dusk. Scarcely 2 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. I grabbed the bag of Milky Ways and tromped to the door. I straightened my blouse, plastered a smile on my face, and swung the door open. Trick or treat! A similar mix of kids. 2 Elsas, Marshall from Paw Patrol, and a ninja. How scary you all look, I said. They giggled and swarmed around for the candy. All except for the ninja. He stood back from the rest, silently watching. His entire face was covered with black cloth, save for his chilling blue eyes. Thank you, the kids cheered, stepping off the porch. As they did, the ninja kid stepped forward. His eyes glinted under the porch light, and even though his mouth was covered, I could tell he wasn't smiling. Can I have more? He said. My blood ran cold. It was the same voice. I stood there in the doorway, frozen. The Milky Way bag hung limply from my hands. There's no way he could have changed costumes that fast. How can it be him? This must be some kind of joke. Can I have more? He asked again. I snapped out of my thoughts. Sure, of course, I said. I threw a large handful of Milky Ways in his plastic jack-o'-lantern candy bowl. That's when I noticed it was empty. If he'd been trick-or-treating all evening, how could it be empty? Hey, I said, are you okay? But he had already turned away, running back across my lawn. In seconds, he was gone, camouflaged in the dusky shadows, among the fellow trick-or-treaters. I sat back down on the chair and stared at the floor. I didn't want to look at the swarms of kids anymore. I just wanted to be alone. Those blue eyes. I know I've seen them before. And not under good circumstances. Whenever I'd seen them before, something bad or embarrassing must have happened at the same time. Seeing them again filled me with an inexplicable dread. I ran my fingers through my hair. Maybe he came to my house last year. But that didn't make sense either. Last year, I'd been over at my ex-boyfriend Drew's house. We'd gotten into a terrible fight that lasted for hours, and I'd left late. I hadn't handed out a single piece of candy. Tap. My head jolted up. Tap, tap. Through my own reflection in the glass, in the dark shadows of dusk, I could make out something. A pair of blue eyes. I jumped back with a terrified shriek. Then I grabbed the cord and pulled. The blinds dropped with a clatter. His footsteps raced over the damp grass, fading into the night. Who the hell is he? I didn't have time to think about it. Ding! I didn't move. I didn't want to answer the door and see that kid again. Ding! Ding! But I also couldn't listen to the doorbell ring for 10 minutes. I heaved myself out of the chair, forced a smile, and swung it open. Trick or treat! My eyes glanced over the trick-or-treaters nervously. A fairy with curly hair, an Incredibles boy with brown eyes, a little girl in a tutu. None of them were him. I breathed a sigh of relief. Here you go, I said with a grin. I was so relieved I gave each of them about 10 Milky Ways. They squealed in delight and scampered back towards their parents. I slowly pushed the door closed. It squeaked against the hinges and then slammed shut. I returned to my chair. I glanced at my phone. 8:19 p.m. The din of children outside was finally fading. When I peeled back the blinds, the flow of little costumed figures was heading towards the main road. Within 20 minutes, the noises faded to silence. I flipped through a book, checked my texts, and got comfortable. Ding! I picked up the candy bag, which was now nearly empty. Only 4 fun-sized bars floated in the bottom. I hope it's not more than 4 kids. It wasn't. It was just one child. He was wearing some sort of werewolf costume. The outfit was black, tufts of fur haphazardly taped to his body. On his head was a hideous mask. The plastic snout was contorted into a snarl, revealing yellow teeth. Fake blood dripped from its mouth, caking the fur on his shoulders. You want some candy? I asked, my voice starting to waver. I glanced at the road. It was empty. All the kids were gone. A terrible dread sunk in my heart. My hand quivered on the doorknob. Can I have more? I slammed the door shut in his face. I clicked the locks. I ran to the back door and locked it. I closed the windows. Then I threw myself into the chair and sobbed. The costume was familiar. Horribly familiar. The yellow, sightless eyes. The pointed, plastic teeth. Familiar and alien all at once. I wrapped my arms around my knees and sat there, motionless on the couch, listening to the silence. Thump. I jolted up. My heart throbbed in my chest. I whipped around, looking for the source of the noise. Hello? I called. Thump. It was coming from the living room. I squinted in the shadows, trying to make sense of the shapes. I could see the silhouette of the floor lamp, near the window, the bulky outline of the couch. Something stood between them. Something short, with a horrible, contorted face. Can I have more? The voice quietly called out of the darkness. How did you get in here? I scrambled back into the family room. The golden light enveloped me, and I felt slightly better. He's probably just some lost kid, I told myself. I'll call the police. They'll find his parents. It's all just some misunderstanding. We'll find your parents, okay? I said, choking back the fear. Let me just make a call. We'll get you home safely, okay, buddy? He didn't reply. Instead, he took a slow step forward. As he came towards the light, I saw there was something terribly off about him. His head tilted strangely to one side. With each step, his body lurched forward unnaturally. Are you okay? I asked. Can I have more? I backed into the family room. I fumbled for my phone. It was gone. I grabbed at anything I could find, and my empty hands latched onto the nearly empty candy bag. This? I asked. Is this what you want? The child didn't reply. He took a step forward. "Here, you can have it." In my terrified state, I threw it at him. The bag bounced off his chest and landed at his feet. He didn't pick it up. "Can I have more?" "I gave you more." He looked at me with those horribly familiar yellow eyes. Then he stopped. He stood just a few feet from me, hands hanging stiffly at his sides. I took a step back and hit the wall. I was cornered. "Who are you?" I yelled. My plan to stay calm and call the police was long gone. I descended into panic. "Why won't you leave me alone?" The tiny black pupils fixed on me, and he spoke. For the first time, he didn't ask for more. "Do you remember me?" "What are you talking about? Do you remember what you did to me?" His high-pitched, lisping voice was muffled through the mask. "Do you remember what you did? 1 year ago?" 1 year ago. 1 year ago on Halloween night. The memories flooded back to me. I was storming out of Drew's house, fuming, swearing I'd never see him again. Slam. The sound of my car door cut sharply through the night. The engine revved underneath me. The headlights blinked on in the darkness. I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking about the fight. I didn't even glance behind me before I backed out of the driveway. And even if I had, I never would have seen him. The black werewolf costume rendered him nearly invisible in the darkness. I didn't call the police. I didn't call for help. I just peeled out of the neighborhood before anyone could see what I'd done. "Do you remember, Eliza?" The child cocked his head at an even greater angle as he stared at me through the mask. "Do you remember now?" "I do." I choked through sobs. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I was upset. I wasn't paying attention." "Can I have more?" "Can you have more what?" I asked. "Can I have more time?" "More time?" "More time alive. I wish I could give that to you." My breath shuddered in my throat. "I wish I could give you life." "You can," he replied. His voice suddenly became raspier. "Just give me yours." I stared at him, numb, weak. My heart ached for the poor child in front of me. It was all my fault. I ran him over. I did this to him. "I can't give you mine," I said. I backed away, further into the room. He advanced quickly, walking towards me in swift strides. "You don't have a choice," he said. "What are you talking about?" "Trick or treat." I bolted for the door. I yanked the door open, ran out across the yard, screamed out into the night. I didn't stop until one of the neighbors found me, standing in the middle of the road, absolutely incoherent. That was 1 year ago. In 2 days, it will be Halloween again. I've already seen him. A small figure across the street, dressed in all black, watching me, waiting, wearing a hideous werewolf mask. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed today's first of 2 stories. I want to take a quick second to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. It really helps the channel grow and reach more new people. I was checking recently and saw that around half the people who watch the channel aren't yet subscribed, so I hope you'll take a quick second to hit that button if you haven't yet. Alright, now on to our next story. The flyer was stuck in my mailbox. Red paper with big black letters. Are you unlucky in love? Are you ready for a new, experimental approach to love? Find your soulmate at XX Main Street. That's all I needed to hear. I'm 36. I have 14 ex-boyfriends, 5 ex-girlfriends, and 0 current love interests. I'm sick of ramen dinners for one, and the judgmental stare of my cat. But when I got to the address, I was sorely disappointed. It was a psychic. The large purple sign read, "Fortunes and Readings," and the building was in disrepair. Chipped paint, splintered siding, a few windows covered with large trash bags. What the hell? If anything, it'll give me a good laugh. I parked on the street and made my way to the shop. As I opened the door, I shuddered. It looked halfway abandoned. Paint flaking off the walls, a couch bleeding stuffing, a large painting with a crudely drawn eye hung askew on the wall. Bookcases lined the back, filled with spell books. And the smell, a terrible mix of chemicals and rot, like someone tried to scrub the rotten beef smell out of the refrigerator with Windex. "Hello?" I called. The hanging tassels at the back parted. Out came a silver-haired woman, peeling latex gloves off her hands. Tattoos of eyes, matching the eye in the painting, covered her arms. "Yes?" "I'm Amy. I saw your flyer. For the soulmate?" She looked me up and down. "Sure. You look like you could use my help." "What's that supposed to mean?" She gestured over my figure. "You think you're gonna get boyfriends wearing stained overalls like that? And Crocs?" She waved her hand dismissively. Then she sat down at the crystal ball, which looked suspiciously like a snow globe, and set her hands on it. "Sit." I did. The chair creaked dangerously underneath me. "I'm Evelyn, and you and I, together, are going to find your soulmate. Did you bring the items I asked?" "The items?" "It says right on the flyer. I need mementos from 2 of your exes. To connect properly with them and to sense what you're looking for in a soulmate." "No, I didn't. I'm sorry." She heaved an exasperated sigh. "What do you mean by mementos exactly?" "Something of theirs. An old shirt they never took back from you. A keychain. A lock of hair." I raised an eyebrow. "I don't keep those kinds of things." "Nor does anybody. A lock of hair? Really?" "I'm sure you'll find something, hon. Come back and we can start." "Okay." I started for the door, with no intention of coming back. But she called out to me. "Look in your bathroom. Your girlfriend left a hair tie there." And when I got home, and looked in my bathroom, sure enough, there was one of Julie Wasaki's purple elastics. I hadn't even noticed it before. A few of her dark, long hair still stuck to it. I smiled sadly. "I almost miss you, Julie." It didn't take me long to find an old t-shirt Matt Goldstein left either, hanging in the back of my closet. It still smelled like his aftershave and B.O. I recoiled in horror and dropped it in a plastic bag. In an hour's time, I was back at Avalon's rundown psychic shop, handing over the items. Very good," she said, her nose trailing the surface of the shirt. "Ew." "What was his name?" "Matt Goldstein." "And hers?" she asked, gesturing to the hair tie. "Julie Wasaki." "Let me ask, to better understand you, what were your favorite things about Matt and Julie?" A sly smile crossed her lips. "Your favorite physical attributes." I pictured Julie and Matt in my head. It was hard for me to admit that I liked anything about them. Both had dumped me, one over text. Even just picturing them made me viscerally recoil. "I guess I liked Julie's long, dark hair." Avalon scrawled notes in a book. "And Matt?" His lips. He was an amazing kisser. "Excellent. I promise you, we will get you that soulmate you're looking for." She sniffed deeply into Matt's shirt. then set the 2 items aside. I will do some work tonight and contact you tomorrow morning. But first, we must discuss payment. Payment? All magic comes with a price, hon, she said, her eyes twinkling in the darkness. A chill ran down my spine. A price? Yes, and the price for this magic, she said, her eyes glittering in the shadows, is $250. Cash or credit? Credit. As I drove away from the shop, I instantly regretted my decision. $250? For some psychic nonsense? I shook my head. I really am getting desperate. I woke up the next morning to a box on my porch. It didn't have a return address. Or my address either. It must have been dropped off in person. Only 2 words were scribbled in the upper corner. From Evelyn. Open immediately. I picked up the box and carried it inside. It was light, and something rattled softly inside as I brought it over to the table. Honestly, in this age of anthrax and bombs, I probably shouldn't have opened it. But the curiosity nagged at me until I was standing over it, butter knife in hand. I slid it under the tape. I pulled out the flaps and peered inside. Dark hair glistened inside. A wig? I reached in and pulled it out. My heart stopped. Underneath the hair was an ear. It fell from my hands onto the floor with a wet splat. What the fuck? I screamed, scrambling back from the counter. No, it's gotta be fake. It's gotta be. I bent over and gingerly picked it back up. The hair was attached to a thin, soft, tan-colored surface, but there was nothing on the other side. No blood, no stains. It's fake, see? It's gotta be fake. I slowly reapproached the box. There was something else inside. I reached in and pulled it out. It was tan-colored, squarish. Something hard was underneath it, pulling the material taut. And there, right in the middle, was a set of pink, plump lips. Lips that looked exactly like Matt's. I dropped it on the counter, my heart racing. There was only one more item in the box. A sheet of paper, folded neatly and tucked away. I plucked it out and began to read. Instructions for assembly. 1. Set the scalp, piece A, and jaw, cheeks, piece B, on a clean workspace. Line up the cheeks with the scalp edge. 2. Thread a sewing needle with the included thread. 3. Sew A and B together by hand. Do not use a sewing machine. 4. Store in a cool, dry place. A note was scrawled in messy script underneath. Here you go, hun. Evelyn. P.S. Don't call the police, or you'll be sorry. I pulled out my phone and called the police. Sorry be damned. 911, what's your emergency? Someone sent me a box. A woman named Evelyn McAllister. XX Main Street. It's got some awful stuff in it. Please, send someone over. Maple Ave. My voice cracked with panic. Okay, stay calm. What are the contents of the box? Body parts. They look real. Like real, actual body parts. Okay, here's what I need you to do. Yeah? You need to take the parts to the counter, okay? That's where they are now, I said, confused. Now, you need to pull the scalp over so it's lined up with the jaw. Then you need to take the thread included in the box. The phone clattered to the floor. After a few seconds of shock, I redialed 911. The man on the other end did the same thing, launched into an explanation of how to sew the pieces together. I dialed my local police station next. Again, the same thing. I grabbed my jacket and keys. Then I sped over to her little fortune teller shop. I found her in the back, feet resting on the coffee table, cigarette in hand. Plumes of smoke curled towards the ceiling. Evelyn, what did you do? Tears burned my eyes. I shakily set the box down on the table. I do a lot of things. Be more specific. You killed Julie and Matt. No, of course not. I'm not a murderer, Amy. Then where did you get those? Because those lips look exactly like Matt's. And the hair's just like Julie's. Relax. Evelyn took her feet off the coffee table and took a long drag. I took those parts from people who were already dead. The local morgue. I have a deal with the mortician. Ignoring the disturbing consequences of that alone, I shot back, why do they look just like my exes then? Because I stalked Facebook. I looked up Matt Goldstein, Julie Wasaki, chose similar features. Simple as that. Okay, well, whatever you're doing, I don't want any part of it. This is absolutely disgusting and evil. You should be arrested. Oh, gonna try and call 911 again, are you? I paled. How do you know about that? Simple, Hex. Evelyn waved her hand around the bookcases with the bogus spell books. Any police officer, first responder, or family member you talk to about this will give you the same answer, so don't bother trying. She leaned over and patted the seat next to her. Come, sit. I'll show you how to sew them in person. I said I don't want any part of this. Don't you want to find true love? Because, let me tell you, you're not going to find it the way you're going. I can see into the future, too. It's all breakups. And lonely nights with your cat, hon. Those words stung. But I turned my heel, walked out the door, and drove away, hoping she wouldn't send any hacks upon me. At least she didn't follow me out. The next morning, I woke up thinking I was rid of Evelyn and her antics. How wrong I was. At about 2 a.m., I went to the basement for a load of laundry. Juggling the huge basket of dirty clothes, I awkwardly descended the wooden stairs. What's that smell? It was an odd combination of chemicals and stink, similar to the smell in Evelyn's shop. I'd never noticed that smell in my basement before. I smelled the pile of laundry just to be sure. Then, I turned around. No. A shadow, laid out on the old ping-pong table in the corner. What the hell? I walked through the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, thudded in my ears. I don't remember leaving anything there. I stood over the ping-pong table. My blood ran cold. Staring back at me was a jigsaw puzzle of a person. Raw, purple, stitched lines ran across its face and body. I recognized the pieces. The dark brown eyes, the dainty hands with the crescent thumb ring. The legs were still missing. A piece of paper lay next to it. If you don't do it, I will. A. The nausea swelled in my throat. I ran up the stairs, 2 at a time. I slammed the basement door shut, drew the chain over it. Then I collapsed against the door. I halfway expected to hear footsteps, or it pounding the door down, screaming threats at me. Something, anything, other than the dead silence that followed. No, it's not alive. It's just an amalgam of dead parts, taken from the morgue. Not from my exes. Calm down. But I didn't calm down. The next morning, another package arrived. This one was long, stretching across my entire porch. No addresses. Cardboard that was slightly wet at the bottom. When I bent over to pick it up, a sickly stench rushed over me. With a grunt, I dragged it into the house. Heart pounding, I slit the tape and pulled it open. I retched. 2 legs, sliced cleanly at the upper thigh. Instructions were tucked in on the side, as usual, and handwriting scribbled on top. If you don't do it, I will. I'm ashamed to say that I did it. I vomited 3 times before I finished. But I did it. They were already dead, I kept telling myself. Already dead. I washed my hands, made some coffee, and sat down at my computer. They were already dead. They were already dead. Tingling numbness spread over my body like electricity. Then a different thought pounded in my head, with every heartbeat. What if she lied? I'd blocked all my exes on social media. It's a policy of mine. One of the worst feelings in the world is seeing your ex with their new partner. And believe me, they always got a new one before I did. So, with a shaking hand, I opened up Google, typed in Julie Wasaki. The third result made my heart stop. Springfield resident, Julie Wasaki, severely injured in freak accident. My eyes scanned the article. On Sunday afternoon, Wasaki decided to go biking around her neighborhood. She couldn't find her helmet, so she decided to use her daughter's, which was too tight. As a car came upon her, she collided with it. In the heat and force of the collision, the tight helmet stuck fast to her scalp and ripped it off. By the time the paramedics were on the scene, the helmet and the scalp were nowhere to be found. I pushed the computer away from me, nausea rising in my throat. Black dots swam in my vision. Fuck, Julie. You didn't deserve that. I don't care if you dump me. That's awful. Thump. The sound came muffled through the front door. Evelyn. Dropping off her package of the morning, I bet. I bolted up and ran to the door. Anger supplanted the terror, the dread, the sadness. I swung the door open. Evelyn was gone. But there was a box. A small one. I bent over and picked it up. Instructions were taped to the top of the box. This is the last piece. The heart. If you want to find your soulmate, install the heart, and then recite the incantation on the other side of this page. If you want to be done with me and all of this, don't worry. Bury the body when you place the heart inside. It's up to you. Either way, you're free of me now. A. I took the box down to the basement. The figure lay still and stiff across the ping-pong table, eyes shut tight. I plunged a kitchen knife into the chest, slowly pulled it down to create a slit. I reached into the box. Wet, squishy, the nausea rose. I swallowed the urge to vomit. Shutting my eyes, I slipped it into the slit. Now bury the body. My life flashed before my eyes. My future life. Home alone. The cat. The ramen. Aging alone. Dying alone. No one caring about me. Ever. My hands, stained with blood, grabbed its shoulders and started to shift the body. As I did, I looked down at it. It was beautiful, in a way. Julie's long hair, Matt's plump lips, Madison's dainty hands with the crescent rings, and Jack's strong legs. Could be mine. My soulmate. Forever. My eyes flicked over to the incantation sheet. I began to read. Ignite this one with the spark of life. Make them my own forever, too. I stopped at the sound of footsteps overhead. Someone was in the house. I froze. Evelyn? I called. I left the body and ascended the steps. Slowly, my heart pounding in my chest. Evelyn? Is that you? I swung the basement door open, clicked it shut. I walked across the foyer, into the kitchen. Evelyn? Is that... 4 men in dark suits faced me, expressions grim, guns drawn. Freeze! Police! We can't detain her. We didn't find anything. What do you mean you didn't find anything? How stupid are you? The voices came through the walls of the interrogation room, loud and clear. We searched everywhere. Everywhere? Even the basement? The closets? Yes, sir. I think we looked everywhere. The door burst open. Amy Green, you're free to go. I stood up shakily and walked out of the police station. My mind was abuzz, as if I were drunk or intoxicated. Too many thoughts competing for my attention. Too much shock. We can give you a ride home, one of the officers said. No thanks. I'll walk. It was a 2-mile walk, but my head still wasn't clear by the end of it. I can't believe I did all that. I can't believe how awful desperation made me become. Guilt flooded me, burning like fire in my veins. It was as if I'd spent the past few days in a sort of obsessive trance, and cold reality was finally crashing down on me. I'm a murderer. Worse than a murderer. I ruined their lives forever. I thought of my poor mother. What would she think if she knew what I did? My poor old mother, who always believed in me. I stopped in front of my house. The light in my bedroom was on. Did I leave the light on? My heart sank with each step, as my guilt turned to imaginary shackles locked to my ankles. I fit the key in the lock, turned the doorknob. My footsteps clicked across the linoleum. An overpowering smell of chemicals and rot. A rustling sound. Something shifting in the shadows of the kitchen. And then, a soft voice from the darkness. I've been waiting for you. Today's story was also featured in a new audiobook written by Blair and narrated by me, Jordan Grupe. Check out Don't Scream, 60 Tales to Terrify. Available now on Audible. This was my first ever audiobook narration, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And the stories in this collection, written by Blair, were really, really good. Scary and full of great plot twists and interesting characters. Check out the description below for more details. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/Jordan Group Horror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow, and see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.